Okay, so the bike's just warming up here. I just wanted to show you what these gauges really look like up close. This camera here just really captures them well. I mean, they're just crystal clear gauges. And you can see them, like I say, I wear glasses, and I do not have to wear glasses anymore when I'm looking at these things. They're just beautiful gauges. I bought some Dakota Digital Gauges here a while back and had them installed on my 2020 Harley Davidson Tri Glide, and I wanted to make this video just to show you some of the options it has and how to scroll through and enter a few things, and just show you some of the cool features it has. And during the video you'll see my voltmeter. Sometimes it drops down pretty low, 12.0. One time it dropped down to 12.0 I saw, or 12.2, and that was because I've been filming pretty much 6 hours in 38-degree weather, and so I had the ignition on a lot, and so that's what drained my battery down. But at the end of the day I put it on the charger and charged the battery back up. Okay, I hope you can hear me okay. Just getting started. A little snow out here today. Just wanted to get you a good shot of these gauges here. Fuel 51%, oil right now at 40. I'm just getting the bike started. Volts 14.3. Okay, these are your Dakota Digital Gauges 8414 for my 2020 Tri Glide. And over here you got gauge number 1, and here you've got the speedometer gauge, and here you've got your tachometer gauge, and over here you have gauge number 2. And when you go into setup, you'll just use the trip reset button on your handlebar there to scroll around, and then when you want to enter something you just hold it like that, watch the scroll bar go to the end, release. I'll show you there, and then you let up, and then you're also going to be able to control it on your iPhone or Android, I guess, on your app, which is pretty cool too. To enter the setup mode, I'm going to hit the trip meter toggle switch and hold it down. As you can see, that came on, and I'm going to turn the ignition on, ACC, because I don't want the headlights on. Now, so you can see it says setup mode right there, and now I'm going to scroll through the setup mode here. I want to quickly show you how the scrolling works. Okay, I got my hand on my finger on the trip meter button, so you can see Bluetooth right there, and then it says diagnostics below it. Well, I'm going to push the trip meter once, and you'll watch the diagnostics go up to where the Bluetooth is, and the Bluetooth will disappear. There, you see that? Diagnostic goes up the top. Well, that's where you're going to want to pay attention to. The next up will be lighting. Now lighting, I'll push it again, lighting will go up and diagnostics will disappear. There. And then so forth. And I'm gonna find display. Okay, so watch speed, tach is below, temperature, fuel, volt, display. See it? Now I'm going to move the display up into the spot where I want it. And now to enter into the displays, I'm going to push the trip meter and hold it. And you'll see what happens. There, scrolling bar, hold to set, bang. All right, now you're in the displays menu. As you can see, speed top, speedometer top, box. Speedometer bottom box, it goes up into the spot right there, and then below it is tach top. Now watch tach top move up to the top, and if you want to enter any of these, you just hold that trip meter reset button and watch, and it just kind of goes into it. And then another menu, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Well, every time when you get done doing what you want to do, you want to find the word back. Let's see if there it is. See back? That's how you get out of it. That's how you exit, and you got to exit out of these. Now it's back, so I'm going to hold it, and there I'm going to back. Okay, okay. So now I'm back into these setup displays. Now I'm going to go back again to get out of that. Looks like there it is. See back, and it'll take me back to the main menu. All right, now I'm at the main menu. Now if I want to get out of the main menu, I look for exit setup right there, and then I'll exit the setup. That's basically how it's done. There's a learning curve in there, but it's just enter and scroll around, but you just got to make sure you back out of everything. Got this new Jim's force flow fan on here. Got my new external breathing system on here. I shot this video over about a 3 or 4 week period, so if you see different color variations in the gauges, it's because at some point I had changed the colors. Okay, in gauge number 1 on the left side here, I've got mine separated into 2 information boxes. These pictures are just illustrations of where the boxes are located on each gauge. This is the gauge number 1. This is the speedometer gauge in the top box and the bottom box. And this is the tachometer gauge, the top box and the bottom box location. And finally, gauge number 2, information box, the top box and the lower box. You can just have one information box, and if you use just one, this numbers will be a lot larger. But I've got mine separated into 2 information boxes, with the top information box being my fuel percentage at 75%, and my bottom information box being at 22 degrees, which is kind of unusual because my garage right now is 38 degrees. And if you move over to the right gauge, I've got it split into 2 information boxes. And the top information box, I've got volts in there. It's 12.2 volts. And then the bottom, I have my head temperatures, which is at 39 degrees, which my garage is 38 degrees right now. In order to move around on the boxes on the speedometer, the lower box and the top box on the speedometer and the tachometer, you use the scroll button on the trip meter. As I push it, you can see the top box on the tachometer scrolling through the different options, which are, there's 12 options. Well, actually there's 13. I thought there was 12. Okay, so I'm still scrolling through the tachometer and speedometer boxes. So right now the arrow is on the top box on the tachometer, and if I want to go to I can scroll through the different selections. Now when I want to just leave it I just want to leave it at odometer, and I'm going to move now down to the bottom box. I'm going to press and hold the trip meter switch, and now you see it's down to the bottom box on the tachometer, and I can scroll through whatever I want to leave it at. I'm going to leave it right there. Now I'm going to hold it and scroll, and it's going to jump over here to the speedometer top box. I'm holding it, and it's moving the line up there. And then you can just scroll through the different options you have, and whatever you want to do. I'm going to leave it there at the tire pressure gauge, and then I'm going to move it there. Now it went down to the bottom box and so forth. You can scroll through there and just leave it there. And you can also scroll like this while you're moving, and the engine's running and you're moving at 50, 60 miles an hour. You can scroll like this and jump between boxes, as I'll show you later on in the video. While your engine's running, you can scroll through these boxes right here. I'll show you. While it's running, you can scroll through this stuff and put any in there you want. Just like when I was stopped in the garage here. Now I might mention about this tire pressure monitoring system. I don't have it as far as I know on my bike, but the CVO models it comes standard with. I think on my model you have to buy a separate module in order to get the tire pressure monitoring system. And you've got 12 choices to fill the boxes in the tachometer and the speedometer, speedometer top, speedometer bottom, tach top, tach bottom, and they're all interchangeable, but you've only got 12 choices, and you can see them there on the page. On gauge 1 or gauge 2, if you're running a single box display, you've got 5 choices: fuel, air temperature, head temperature, voltage, and oil temperature. And the same with gauge 2 if you're running a single box. And they're all interchangeable. It doesn't matter which one you choose. On gauge 1 and gauge 2, if you run a split display, meaning a top box and a bottom box, you can put maybe fuel in one box and voltage in another. Same with gauge 2 over here. and they're all mix and matchable. And this choice here, none, if you're running split gauges and then all of a sudden you don't want to run split gauges anymore, you just choose none, and then only one of those choices will show up on in your display box, whichever one was on the bottom. Okay, gauge 1, again you've got 5 different choices for the top box and 5 different choices for the bottom box. And the same with gauge 2 over here, you've got 5 different choices for the top box and the bottom box, and they're all interchangeable. During this video, while I'm moving down the road on the motorcycle and filming the gauges, if you see the gauges flickering, it's not the gauges. The gauges stay solid colors all the time. It's all in my camera and the frame rates per second that I'm shooting the film at. Okay, I hope you get a good shot of these gauges and what they're doing. Very colorful. And there I got a shot for you of what it looks like for just a single box, information box on the gauge 1, and a single information box on gauge 2. Just a note, because gauge 1 over here and gauge 2 can only be changed by it being in the setup mode, therefore you can't change them while you're moving down the road like you can the tachometer and speedometer gauges. Okay, this is gauge 1 split. What I want to attempt to do now is split gauge number 2, and I want the volts on the top and the head temperature on the bottom. When I go in to split this gauge, my new choice, when I press OK, my new choice is going to go on the top and my volts are going to go to the bottom. So what I need to do first is change this single display to head first. Okay, I'm going to attempt to change that to head temperature. I'm going to go in here to setup, right here, diagnostics, lighting, speed, tach, temperature, fuel. I want to get displays, right there, displays, enter. I'm going to enter the display menu. Now I'm going to scroll down to gauge number 2, gauge 1, gauge 2, and I'm going to change gauge 2, enter gauge 2, and I'm going to change it to head temperature, voltage, oil temperature, fuel, air temperature, head temperature, all right? I'm going to enter that, and watch that gauge change to head temperature. Okay, next step. Next step, I'm going to go to gauge 2 dual. One step, there it is, gauge 2 dual. I'm going to enter, and then I'm going to find my voltage. Got none, back, voltage, there it is. I'm going to enter voltage. Now when I enter voltage, voltage is going to go on the top and shove that head down. There we go, enter, bang. See, there we go. Now we've got voltage on the top and head down below. Okay, now I'm going to exit this setup, and you don't need to see that. With the gauges, head temperature 250, volts 14.5, and gauge number 1 or 2. Get a little closer here. Dakota Digital gives you an app for your phone right there. Let's open it up. And the first thing you're going to see is up here this button that says scanning, and that's all it's going to do until you turn your Dakota Digital gauges on. Okay, I want you to pay attention to this button right here. It says scanning. I'm going to turn my ignition on, ACC, and it'll detect the gauges right there. See, there it is. It's detecting the gauges now. So if I hit this button, the menu will come up. And this is the menu you're going to see right here. Setup, gauges, diagnostic information. But it's still, you can't do anything with it, as I'll show you, until, see this little button, this little box comes up, says that the gauges have to be in the setup mode in order to use this app. So I'm going to say OK, and now I'm going to shut the ignition off, hold the trip switch down, turn the ignition back on, and go into the setup mode. Okay, I'm going to shut the ignition switch off, hold the trip meter button down, as you can see it comes up, and I'm going to return the ignition on to go into the setup mode. Now we're in the setup mode. Now, as you can see, it has recognized again the digital gauges, so hit that button. And now, when we go into setup, it'll give us our menu that we want. We got Bluetooth, Speedo, TAC, gauges, lighting. What I want to go into right now, show you is lighting. You can go into a theme, which, now watch the gauges as I hit these different themes. These are factory set themes. They just change as you hit them. And they got quite a few of these themes. You can customize your own. Or you can just go solid colors if you want. All green. There's a ton of these things. Then when you're done, you just apply change. Or you go back to preset. Now let's go back a second. Let's go to customize. Now you got these rollers right here. You can change. This one says bar. That's this bar up here. As you can see, the bar up here, and there'll be a bar right there too. Right now it's blue, so I want to change it to that color. See it changing up there as I swing that thing? Green, okay? And warnings. Warnings is red right now, so the warning is actually right there in that little spot right there. That's the only warning thing that I know of. Gauges. I got them in red right now. You can change them to bright, whatever you want to change them to. They got so many different variations you can go through. Labels. Labels are the RPMs and the voltmeter and the head. So let's just change the labels to different colors as I scroll down like that. Key lime, red, bright white, and then you got messages, which is down here, like it says setup right there. Watch all, it's yellow. I'll change it to red. So you got so many combinations, it's ridiculous. You could sit, and then once you find one you really like, you can actually, says right there, save and load. You just, and then you name it. I name my first one film, and then film 1, and they're my favorite colors, and then just go back. Now I'm going to go back. No. Anything you can do in the app can be done in the setup mode. I didn't go through them all, but I went through quite a bit, the lighting, colors in the setup mode. But it looked like anything that can be done on the app can be done in the setup mode. Okay, we'll pay attention to sunlight and dimming. Today I was riding, and this guy here was over there, and the auto was in that position right there. And what happened was sunlight was hitting my gauges, and I didn't know this was in effect. And my gauges all went white. All the boxes went white because the sunlight hit it, and I didn't know that. It's automatic. And so once I got out of the sunlight, about 10 minutes later, they went back to all my color gauges right here. So I couldn't figure it out. So I finally went into the setup and found out that if I just shut that guy off and shut that off, it'll stay with those color gauges all the time. I changed those buttons back, and just a little while ago the sun was hitting those gauges so hard I couldn't see them, and then it changed to this white. And man, I could see them really good with the direct sunlight. There, they just changed back. You see that? Okay, we'll go back. and we'll get into display right here. And you got the speed performance, top message, bottom message, tack performance, top message and bottom message. You can shut those on or off, as you can see. And those are these right here, I'll show you. For each box, you got the hide button slid over to hide. You would not see high miles per hour, 0 to 60 time, quarter mile time, or your high RPM time. Okay, these if you got your buttons to the hide position, these are the stuff you won't see. That will be high miles per hour, 25.5, 0 to 60 seconds. 25.5, quarter mile, 14 miles per hour, and high RPM. And so that's about all I'm going to tell you, because I really don't want to tell you no more, because I don't think I know anymore. All right, pay attention right here. I'm coming over to the trip meter switch. I'm going to scroll through some of this stuff. I want to show you what happened to me today. It's on Bluetooth, diagnostics, lighting, speed, tack, temp, fuel, I guess gear. That's what I want, gear right there. I'm going to enter gear. Well, my gears only showed up to fifth gear. It wouldn't go out of fifth gear. Even when I was in sixth gear, it would show fifth gear. So I had to go into this preset gear, and I went down to trike here, where it is trike, and I entered trike, and I held it there, and I was done. And so then I got out of it, back out of it, and when I was done anyway, make a long story short, my sixth gear showed up immediately. Okay, there you have it, a little bit about the gauges and the app. Remember, I got out of the setup mode, so if I go to try to use this is, we'll see what happens here. I'll just go setup, and it'll go back here, I'll go setup, and it's saying right here I can't do it because I'm not in the setup mode on the digital gauges there. So. Some of the things that I like about new gauges is that the gear indicator tells you which gear you're in. It doesn't disappear on you, like on the OEM gauges where you pull the clutch in, it would disappear and you wouldn't know what gear you're in. This one stays all lit all the time. You pull the clutch in, it still says you're in second gear or third gear or whatever other gear you're in. It always is there, and I like that. And I wear glasses with my OEM gauges because I couldn't quite see the trip A and trip B meters. And with these new gauges, they're so big you can see everything clearly, and I don't need my glasses to read that stuff. And the video doesn't do the colors on the gauges justice. The colors on the gauges are just totally vibrant, and they stick right out. There we go. This should be a good shot of what they're like. A real vibrant color. Okay, so the bike's just warming up here. I just wanted to show you what these gauges really look like up close. This camera here just really captures them well. I mean, they're just crystal clear gauges. And you can see them, like I say, I wear glasses, and I do not have to wear glasses anymore when I'm looking at these things. They're just beautiful gauges.